I'm going to make you some mushroom and prawn wontons. And usually you would make this with a flour wonton wrapper, but I am going to make them with rice paper. Usually you would just pop this in the water and make Vietnamese style rice paper rolls, but you can fry this paper. And I actually discovered this recently when I forgot to buy the wonton wrappers, and it actually surprisingly worked quite well. So before we get on to wrapping, let's make this delicious mixture. You'll need a food processor for this because you want to make a sticky paste of the prawn and mushroom. I also like to chop my mushrooms first just to give the food processor a bit of a helping hand so everything chops quite evenly. So we'll cut our mushrooms into quarters. Now I'm using these lovely button mushrooms because I've always got them in my fridge, but you could also use some shiitake mushrooms for this recipe. That would work really well. If you're using the dried ones, you just need to rehydrate them in the water, squeeze out the excess water, and then add them to the food processor. But I really love the woodiness of fresh ones. So in with our mushrooms, you want about 150 grams. To that we'll add beautiful fresh prawns. I just love prawns. They're sweet, they're plump, and again we're just going to chop them into small bite-sized pieces. I'm cutting these into thirds, and what I've done is peeled them and also deveined them so they're ready to go. And of course, for a wonton, you don't want to be using prawns that are cooked. They need to be raw, just so we get that lovely sticky paste, and they will cook when we fry them up later on. Okay, into our food processor. And to add some extra flavours to this, ginger, a good amount of ginger. We're just going to grate that directly into the food processor. Lovely fresh ginger for this recipe. And that goes for garlic too, 1 clove of garlic. And we'll just mince that directly in too. Right, for the sauces, sesame oil. I want about a tablespoon of sesame oil. Seems like quite a lot, but I want to taste it in this recipe. So a tablespoon in, along with a tablespoon of light soy sauce. So I'll just measure that out. That's also going to season our prawns and our mushroom. To that, I'll add some white pepper and also some Chinese 5-spice. A binding agent, which is just some cornflour. You can also add some egg if you like. And some chives. We want about a tablespoon of chives, roughly chop them. Okay, we'll pop them in. And that right there is the perfect combination for little dumplings. All right, lid goes on, lock it into place. And I like to just pulse this 3 or 4 times just to start chopping all the ingredients, and then we'll blend it until it becomes quite sticky. All right, that's come together nicely. It's very sticky, which is exactly how it should be. Look at that. Oh, smells good too. Okay, now to assemble. So I'll just get myself prepared. You need a plate just that has a lip on it, and add some water because we just need to rehydrate our rice rolls. And to make it much easier to handle the rice rolls when they're a bit sticky, I like to have a clean, damp tea towel on standby. Fold that over. And working with 1 piece of rice paper at a time, plunge it in that water. You just want to leave it in there for a moment and shake the excess off. Now, it looks like it's not pliable enough, but rest assured, it does soften very quickly. So by the time I put all of this mixture in the centre of this, it will soften, ready to roll. So a spoonful, about a dessert spoonful, straight into the centre, and you want it to be just in an oval shape. And then we'll bring in all the sides. So fold this over, see how soft it's become? And it is very sticky. Roll it up, bring in the sides, tuck that in, and then we'll finish just on that side. And there you go, that's our first little wonton or dumpling. Now it is very sticky, so I highly recommend getting a piece of baking paper and just placing that onto your board. And the first one can just go down, so when it comes time to frying, it's really easy to take them off and then pop them in the oil. All right, well, we definitely need a few more of these, and then we can start frying. Okay, rice paper wontons are wrapped and now it's time to fry. So I've just been preheating a large fry pan. I'm adding some safflower oil. You want an oil that can go up to quite a high heat. And we're not deep frying these, we're shallow frying them. So you only need about 2 tablespoons of the oil. And then once it's hot, we can start frying. Now, I like to start frying on the seam side first, and then we'll keep an eye on it. Once it starts to go a little bit crispy, we'll turn them over. So I'll add a few of those at a time. And you can't have wontons without a dipping sauce. So while they're frying, let's make a very quick one. I love the addition of black vinegar. So black vinegar, Chinese black vinegar, and some soy sauce, even amounts. This is just a really quick dipping sauce. And for some heat, a small bird's eye red chilli. And I'll just finely slice that. And we'll just let that marinate in the soy and the black vinegar just for a few minutes while we cook the rest of our little rice paper wontons. Happy with the result. We've got crispy rice paper little parcels. The filling's cooked, it smells great. And as soon as they come out of the oil, a little tip is just to get a little salt and sprinkle that over the top for some extra crunch and just a slight amount of seasoning. Drain them on the paper towel first before you place them onto the plate. And remember, they are going to be piping hot, so do let them cool a little before serving them. It's a really nice canapé, and that sauce that we're serving with it, the black vinegar, soy and chilli, we'll just place that into a little dipping bowl. And for a pop of colour, some spring onions if you have, or you could have just used those chives. Just going to finely chop. I've always got some spring onions on standby in my fridge. And we'll just sprinkle that over the top. There you have it. That is a wonderful way of making not so traditional wontons, but the rice paper roll works really well. You see how easy it is to wrap them and fry them. And on top of it, they are gluten-free. So if you can't have the classic wonton wrappers, try making your wontons with rice paper.